Hey, my name is Keisha. Welcome to the Blur Library. Today's video, we're going to be talking about black comics written by black women and non-binary and black non-binary folks. I have 10 comics for you. And this is quite the stack, but let me tell you, this is not everything I have. I just don't feel like making more of a mess because let me show you real quick. So see, like, you can see there's books over there, and then there's books down here, and even like under my desk right now are even more books. I didn't feel like taking out anything else. So we have 10 right here. One of my reading goals this year is to collect and read more comics written by black women. I have a decent collection, but I'm noticing that my collection, my black comics collection, skews more men. It's like 60-40, and I really want to like flip those numbers. So this is to hold myself accountable and to also help everyone else. So let's start with Recency and the most recent book that I read. Now, this is Sana Starros. She's a character that came out of Dr. Afra, and this was written by Justina Ireland. And if you are a book reader, you know that name. Hold on. Where is it? Where is the book? Where is the book? Rust in the Root by Justina Ireland, or it's over there somewhere, Dread Nation. Okay, that duology. Justina Ireland wrote those as well. I love her writing style. She's very humorous in her writing, but she's also giving you a lot of commentary, a lot of social commentary. In this one, does a phenomenal job. This is historical fantasy that I think everyone should read. But like I said, she writes a lot for Star Wars and through Marvel in general. So if you guys ever want to try this one, like I said, the main character is Sana Starros. She goes back home and finds out that her cousin marries this white guy who's high in the Empire. He's like a lieutenant. He's really high up there in the army and in their forces. And he's very controlling. And so she's trying to have her babies with her family. Husband tries to kill the family to keep her away from them. It becomes a whole thing. They have to go and get the cousin as well as this family heirloom that they have stolen. It is a whole it is a wild ride through space, but it definitely has wonderful themes of family, theme topics of family, and just like what family is willing to do with one another and what people do when they don't feel the warmth of their community. Next up, we have Sea Spike Trotman, and this is Delver. Now, I read this initially through Comixology, like the original series that they put out, but they also put this out through Dark Horse. So basically, this one speaks a lot about it's a very interesting conversation about gentrification and just what happens to small towns when people find out that there's something valuable there. And you have this small town, you have this woman who, you know, a door that like speaks to all the treasures in the world opens up in their small town, and then everyone just swarms in to get things, and she has to figure out how to deal with all this change and then protect her family throughout it. So like, the artwork is pretty cool in it. I should have showed you the artwork for Justina Ireland, but the artwork is pretty cool in it. I enjoyed a lot of the characters that happen in this. I'll be honest, volume 2 is not my favorite, but like this first volume, it did it for me, very much so. Alright, next up is Dark Blood by Latoya Morgan. This one is set shortly after World War II. You have a main character who is a war vet and he has come home. Now, the story overall speaks to black people and our hesitation with doctors in the medical industry. He is going to this doctor and unknowingly he gets injected with this formula that gives him supernatural abilities. Well, these abilities end up upending his entire world, and him being black in the South, well, you can only guess what happens. This book has a lot of commentary, like I said, on black people, the medical industry, what it's like living in the South as a black person, what it's like coming back home with PTSD, as well as coming back home and seeing freedom in other places, and, you know, coming back to what we lived in, essentially in apartheid in the United States. So if you ever get a chance, check out Dark Blood. Everyone sees this comic book everywhere, and that is for very good reason. It is absolutely phenomenal. N.K. Jemisin is a master at world building, and it only makes sense that she went from books to comics. I only wish that we were able to get more from her. Now, just letting you know, this is just the compact edition. This is $9.99, right? You can also get the trade paperback, which is the regular size one, or you can wait until February to get the hardcover edition. That's going to include N.K. Jemisin's epilogue that she did with Jamal Campbell for Far Sector, that came out in DC Power 2024. Absolutely phenomenal run. Hands down, one of my favorites. Jo is a Green Lantern, but her ring works differently than everyone else. So you don't need the Green Lantern mythologies to learn or even enjoy this book at all. The artwork is done by, like I said, Jamal Campbell, and he is one of my favorite artists. So anytime I see his name, I get the comic immediately. Jo is a badass. She's fly as hell. She's queer. It's... But she is, this is basically a mystery. She ends up on this planet that has never known war before. It's had its first murder, and she has to solve it. And you're realizing that this perfect world is not as perfect as it seems. Everyone else would kind of figure that out, because, I mean, like, a lot of people, they deal in cat memes. Cat memes. This is a great comic. I always say, like, if you are going to start reading comics, this is one of the first 5 you should pick up. Will it raise your standards? Absolutely, but that's what we want, right? That's what we want. All right, next up, I always say Nubia Too Real and Watch They Diaries. These are the next 2. I always say that these are the 2 comics that people need to start with reading comics if you want to get into it, because they are phenomenal. In terms of readability, they are very easy to read. So, like, in terms of readability, these are great to start with, because you're not having that added layer of stress of trying to figure out the sequence of the story. But Nubia Real One is about Nubia. She is a sister to Diana, Wonder Woman, but in this version she is a teenager. Wonder Woman is an adult somewhere else, and she is living with her 2 moms, and she is dealing with regular teenage stuff. Now her friend is dealing with some issues, and with her being a teenager, having all of these powers, and then also her friend is dealing with some stuff, like, things are coming to a head in this one. This comic has amazing commentary on intersectional feminism. Like, it hits it square on the head. Actually, most of these DC YA comics, I would argue that everyone should be reading them, because this specific line of comics, DC does not shy away from hard conversations at all. Like, there's one with Blue Beetle where it talks about immigration. There is, like, so much is happening in these comics. So, like, if you ever get a chance, read this entire line of YA, but, like, specifically Nubia Real One, and then also Nubia Too Real that comes out later this year. Like I said, this is the comic. Like I said, it's either Nubia Real One or Watch They Diaries you want to start with. And maybe I should have put these in order, but this is the stack that I made, so we're gonna go with it. Watch They Diaries are interconnected stories about 4 friends and how they deal with their friendship, their mental health, and their love and appreciation of their hair and just self-care. This one is a comic I believe every black girl, every black woman should have in their library, whether or not they read books in general. I don't care. Like, whether or not you read comics, I don't care. This is like the ultimate comic that every black woman should have. It is so cute. It makes me wish that I was closer to my friend group who are out further south. So like, yeah, everyone needs to read this. Also, Robin Smith does a fantastic job with the art and the color palette in here. It is so cute. So cute. And like I said, this is very easy to read. Very easy to read. So like, if you're gonna start anywhere, start with Wash Day Diaries. Also, is this the one that's signed? No, I have 2 copies of this, and one of which is signed. If you ever want to hear the embarrassing story about that, let me know. Another easy to read but hilarious comic is Bunt. So in this one, you have a main character, Molly, and she gets into this very prestigious art school, and her picture is everywhere on billboards, and they use her in marketing, and she's supposed to get this big scholarship. Well, she goes to school and they say, oh, well, this scholarship does not exist anymore. She's too afraid to go home to her mom's and, you know, admit that she can't afford the school, because then they'll make her go somewhere else. So she finds out that if she can put together a sports club and they win one game, then they can get athletic scholarships at this art school and get everything paid for. So she decides, we're going to put together a softball club. And so the entire story is her putting together this softball club of all of these different artists from different mediums, and them trying to win one game. One simple game. You would think. This is hilarious. And out of everything that happens in the story, the only thing that I truly remember crystal clear is the one artist that does commissions for furries. Hilarious. Very quiet, very timid person, but is drawing the most obscene things. So like, if you ever get a chance, Bunt, you're gonna have a great time with this one. All right, this next comic, Devour, is written by a non-binary author, Jasmine Joyner, and it takes Anansi the spider and his tails and distorts it in such a way. Now, this is definitely a horror comic. This is published by Megascope, which I always talk about how much I love them. So in this one, you have these kids and this dad, and they end up driving back home to grandma's house to help take care of her. Well, this house is special, and you learn eventually that it has something to do with Anansi the spider. So imagine Anansi was in different parts of Africa and then traveled over with people who were enslaved. And then Anansi got all of those stories from people who were enslaved in America. What would you think would happen to him? This comic explains that. What if Anansi went mad? So, this is a phenomenal book. It speaks about, and oh my goodness, I always get this wrong. I believe, okay. It speaks about hoodoo. It does not shy away from horror and gore. The end was a giant WTF. Complete WTF. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I was not expecting the people to get offed, but here we are. So, like, if you get a chance, Devour. Because that's essentially what happens. Alright, oh my goodness, 2 more. Look at us. The second to last one is Bingo Love by T. Franklin. And this reminds me of Days of Aphrodite, a book where Similarly with this one, you have two women who were in a relationship in their youth, and then fate brings them back together later in life. In this comic specifically, you see them, you know, get reacquainted with one another, and you see how it goes from them trying to be friends, but then it also turning into a lot more, and then how their individual families are dealing with it. What I love about this story, and that I don't see too often of, is, you know, those who learn more about themselves late in life and figure out that, hey, no, I'm not straight, I am queer, I am bi, I am lesbian, what have you. I love these types of stories so much because it is very real. You know, not everybody figures it out in their youth because of a number of reasons, and a lot of those reasons you see in this comic as well. So I love this comic so much. The artwork is gorgeous, and T. Franklin just takes like such good care of the story and the two women that it follows. So yeah. And then you also get like this shocker, this plot twist that happens at the very end. Like, oh, okay, I see we all have secrets now. And then one of my favorites, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur by Jordan Afueco. Now, if you've heard me say on the Pink Riot Comic Show very often, I love Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. This was one of the first comics that got me back into reading comics as an adult. But not this one. Actually, it was this one, if I could put it right here. And it's this little black girl in Marvel comic universe who is the smartest person in the universe at the time. And it's like, I saw so much of her in me. But the thing is, there were a lot of things that I didn't see. A lot of my blackness I didn't see. Even though she was a black character and there was some nods to that, there were conversations that did not exist in that first run that happens in this run. This run is unapologetically black. In the very first issue alone, you see Moon Girl and another black girl have a conversation about hair and like how this white girl is talking to her. Like this is why I advocate for own voices, because you miss the nuance, right? It's one thing to like say, okay, she has a bonnet on her head and that means that, you know, she has this type of hair. Like, that can work sometimes, but it's also in how we converse with one another. It's also, you know, how we navigate the world physically, how we observe things in the world. All of those nuances are missed. So like you don't get those misses in this one, and that's why this comic will always stay near and dear to my heart 10 times out. Like, I love her. Another comic that is black, unapologetically black, and it's Moon Girl, is Stephanie Williams. That one is cute, and that one is connected more to the animated show, which I believe they canceled, but like, please watch it. The show is adorable. The show is perfection. More people need to watch it. So this year I plan on, like I said, I plan on buying more black comics written by black women and non-binary folks, because if you're not gonna root for yourself, who's gonna do it for you? If you want to see more comics like this, let me know. I love comics. It's just another medium of storytelling, and truth be told, it's a very complex one that not enough people give enough respect to, especially in book spaces. So in the comments, tell me which ones you liked, which ones you are thinking about getting, which ones you're more interested in to explore more about, and I guess I will see you in the next video. Later.